Hey Naja, really glad to do this interview with you and share your story with everyone else. And as always, I'll let you go ahead and get started and introduce yourself and your background.
Yeah, so my name is Naja Dunn. And okay, when people ask me about my background, I start with the personal, and I'm one of seven children. That's like my wow factor because everyone's like, seven children, that's a lot of children. But I tell that because it pretty much tells you a lot about me as a person. I'm number three, but they treat me like I'm the oldest. So it it automatically tells you what kind of person I am, like the mom out of the group. But when you talk about my career background, I come from a very lengthy background in HR. So I started off as an administrative assistant, and I've done a lot of call center work. So pharmaceutical, mortgage companies, Scholastic, and I kind of stayed in that area while I was in college. And then once I got out of college, I went straight into state government work. So I was administrative assistant for the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities in New Jersey. And then after a couple of years, I relocated down to Virginia and started working for the Virginia State Bar and Compliance. And then I went on to be an HR assistant manager. So I have a long history of HR background, and here I am now, finally breaking into financial tech.
So Naja, I'm curious to learn about what made you want to transition from HR into technology sales.
Yeah, so there's a lot of moving components when it comes to me, pivoting into tech sales. For starters, as I mentioned, I did a lot of state government work in HR, and I'm 29 years old. I'm pretty young, and I put myself in positions where I'm working around a lot of older people who are just waiting to retire. And then once that retirement age comes, they kind of push the envelope and they're like, one more year, one more year. I have a grandmother and she's doing the same thing. She's like, it's next year. And I'm like, okay, next year, it'll be the next year. So you find in state government work that you have a cap on salary, you have a cap on what do you call it? Like promotional growth. Because you have a lot of people who have been there probably since they were in high school, and they're just, I mean, when they got out of high school, and they just are there until they retire. So if you're coming in young, then you have a long time before you could, move up or move
Mhm.
around in an agency. So that was my first thing. I was like, you know what? I'm 29 years old. I feel like I'm stuck at this same salary. I'm not moving anywhere, and I have goals. I want to buy a home. I want to be debt free. I want to have a family someday. So I was like, I have to do something about this, but I didn't necessarily know what I wanted to do. And then I had lost my father in May, and I had to make like a huge financial sacrifice to help pay for his funeral. And that was kind of it for me. I was like, you know what? Like, I've done 6 years in HR and I have like really nothing to show for, but the basic necessities. And so one of my friends, Cyrus Harvin, which everyone talks about him a lot, he was like, won't you, do some research and see where you could fit in the tech industry? And I was just like, tech? Like, I don't think I would fit into tech. And he was like, well, do your research. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to look at the experience that I have already and see how I could use that in the tech industry. And so what I
Mhm.
came up with was tech sales, recruiting, because I already did recruiting before as well. And also, so tech sales, tech recruiting, and I forgot what the other one was, but when I mentioned tech sales to him, he mentioned CourseCareers. He was like, hey, this is an easy and affordable way to break into tech. And I saw him making all these videos, and he kept saying CourseCareers, CourseCareers, CourseCareers. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna bet on myself and just do it. So I
Yeah.
had signed up. I signed up probably 4 weeks after my father passed. So while I'm taking the course, I'm also grieving, but I'm also like using it as motivation to, still better myself because, like I said, it kind of put me in a financial bind. And
Mhm.
it took me 4 weeks to complete the course, and I'm
Wow.
I'm proud about that because I did read that it takes 1 to 3 months for students to complete. So I was proud that I had completed in 4 weeks, and then here I am 4 weeks later starting my first SDR position. So
Yeah,
eight
wow.
weeks in
So
total.
8 weeks in total to go from, I'm assuming, knowing really nothing about technology sales,
Yeah.
right?
No,
So
nothing
knowing
at all.
nothing wow, to
Nothing at
landing your
all.
first position, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And let's go a little bit back to your experience. So you're working in HR, and it sounds like you graduated college, and then you were doing that.
Yeah. So yeah, I finished school and then I went right into state work. And so I had a friend who just kind of said, "Hey, we need a receptionist," and they were so grateful to have me. They were like, "You know what? We can like make her the administrative assistant because we need that." And she has, that already have that background, that clerical background. So honestly, 3 days into working as a receptionist, I got promoted to being administrative assistant. So that kind of started my HR journey.
Gotcha. So you're working in HR, and it sounds like call center type work too,
Yes, I did
until
call.
you're 20.
Yeah, I did. Sorry, I did call center work first,
Mhm.
and then I went straight into HR work.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So for the past quite a handful of years, you've been doing HR work, and then you got
Yes.
to the point where you realized there was a cap on your growth and how much money you can make and your
Yes.
career trajectory. So you decided to transition into tech, and then realized that your background would set you up for success in
It
tech
did.
sales.
It definitely did.
Mhm.
In starting the course, and not to just give too much away, but in starting the course, I did realize that you do have to have, those like be a people person. You got to be able to connect with people to be able to like make strong bonds and relationships. And me being in
Mhm.
HR, I have a strong client relation experience, and so I found that definitely transferred over into tech sales.
For sure. It sounds like a really good background to leverage all those communication skills and people skills, which is really the foundation for success as
Yeah.
a tech sales rep to make that transition. I'm curious to learn a little bit more about your experience going through the course. Were you currently working while you're going through it, or did you go through it full time?
So when I first started it, I was working full time. And
Mhm.
then, as I said before, I was grieving. So I said, you know what, I'm just going to put my all into this. So, for the first probably 2 weeks, I was working full time. And then the second half of the month, I had left my position. But as I said before, I was a recruiter, so I didn't leave them high and dry. I did give them another assistant manager to be in my place, but I wanted to, put all my eggs in one basket. So yeah,
Gotcha. Yeah, that takes a lot of confidence to be able to do that. So you're really, really glad to see you put everything into it. Then you
yeah.
finished course careers, and do you feel like you learned quite a bit about technology sales through the course?
Yes, I did. And I say that because and doing like interviews, I kind of had like imposter syndrome because I'm like, I've never done this before, so they're gonna see it on my face, But
Yeah.
I still had that confidence because, yeah, I think that CourseCareers definitely prepares you for those things. And I had someone actually reach out to me, and they were like, have you been ever able to put what you learned to practice um, with like being an SDR role? And I'm like, I haven't started my role yet, but the knowledge that I gained from CourseCareers is why I got the job because
Yeah.
this, I know we have our partner companies, but this company hopefully is a partner company in the future. But I had no sales background, and this is a financial tech company. This is real money that we're talking about, and they, the questions that he asked me, I knew the answers like that because of what I learned in CourseCareers. Him asking me like, "Do you know the role of an SDR?" and me having a very articulate, very short, to the point
Yeah.
answer. He was just like, "Okay, yeah, she knows," and yeah, and it was only because I went through CourseCareers because I had no idea what I
For
was getting
sure.
into, but I did know that it was opportunity to further my career. So yeah,
Yeah, it's a lot of these employers, they're often willing to replace their experience requirements with education. So
yeah,
if someone learns how to do the job, what to expect, really how they should answer questions in an interview, then you're able to impress these employers enough where they're willing to drop their experience requirements, drop their degree requirements, and use that education in replace of those other qualifications. And that sounds like what happened in your case, right?
Yeah, definitely. He also just gave me like a quick kind of like a scenario like, hey, you're talking to the CEO, or what
Yeah.
would you say? Well, how would you sell it? And honestly, I learned in Course Careers, do research on the company. And I
Yeah.
knew, as much as I knew about the company, I used that, and I just said, you know what, this is what my response would be if I'm talking, how this is how I would sell, this
Mhm.
product. And he was like, you know what? That's our those are points that we use when we do sell. So I would say that if I didn't do CourseCareers, I would not have known, I wouldn't be prepared for these interviews, to be honest.
Yeah, it definitely makes a big difference. And now, I mean, we have so many students going through our program, learning all this material that it's almost hard if you don't have it to compete with our students. Because it's
Yeah,
like you're either you don't know how to do the job of an SDR according to the latest and greatest best practices and exactly
yeah,
what these hiring managers want to hear in an interview, and you're competing with someone who does. I mean, I'm sure the other candidates who competed with you for that position weren't too thrilled.
yeah, definitely. And I did have someone reach out to me, and they were like, hey, I saw that, you just landed this position with this company. And they were like, I just interviewed with them, and unfortunately I didn't get the opportunity. So they were like, hey, can we do a call? Can we talk about
Yeah.
like interviewing tips? Like, what do you, and I'm like, yeah, I know this because of Course Careers. This is all because of Course Careers, to be honest.
Yeah, that's incredible. I love to hear the
Yeah.
success. And could you tell us a little bit more about the company that you ended up going with?
Yeah. Do you want me to say the name?
Yeah, feel free to share as much information as you like.
Oh yeah, I'm fine with that. So the company that I'm starting with is called Paymerang, and they make accounts payable easy. So they do automated payments and automated invoices. And so honestly, their client is could be anybody. It could be a police
Mhm.
department. It could be a school. It could be a hospital. And so the company really seemed like it had a really good work culture. I looked at their TikTok, I looked at their LinkedIn, I saw all, things that they were doing in the community. And I was like, you know what, this looks like, something I could be a part of. Like I said, I'm
Mhm.
29. I'm usually in spaces where I'm working with, people that are very, like older than me. And although it's like a range of, different ages there, I still feel like they're lively and they have that that umph in them, and so I
Mhm.
was like, you know what, this will be a great fit for me. And also I did look up how much revenue the company was getting for the year, and they're a baby
Mhm.
company, honestly. I think they're celebrating 12 years this year. But
Wow.
and they have been named the best workplace in the city that I'm in the past 4 years. So I was like, okay, why not? Why
Wow.
not? But yeah, I definitely like the company. I had interviewed with the VP of sales, and also one of the lead outbound. Well, not, I'm gonna say outbound, but like they're in the field. They work
Yeah.
in sales in the field. And honestly, it was a great interview. I didn't feel like I was too nervous. We laughed a lot. It just felt like home. So I was sold on that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the way it should be. I mean, you should go into these interviews confident. You went through course careers. You know how to do the job and what they're looking for, and you can crush
Yeah.
this interview, and you did. And
Yeah.
you ended up getting the job. And could you share with us some, like, I guess, high level? You don't have to go into specifics about how much you could expect to make in your first year. Do you get benefits? Are you working in office or remote?
Oh yeah. I've never worked remote before. And
Yeah.
so when I was doing course careers, I was like, I hope I get a remote job. But let me tell you that this job is 5 minutes from my home. So and the dress is casual. So, I'm not it like they run their business very well. So I
Mhm.
know people hear like, oh, you can dress casual, then it must be a sloppy place. No, it's a phenom like it's really nice. It's really nice. Honestly, walking in the building, I was like, oh, this is nice. But the dress is casual. So it's, for me, 5 minutes from my home, that I'm not even gonna touch any traffic. Um,
Yeah.
and to be able to play around with what I wear to work is also a great thing too. If it's a day that I don't want to dress up and I want to wear jeans and a nice top, then that works for me. So, but talking about salary, I'm gonna say off rip, I am going to be making double than the amount of in the highest salary I've ever made. So yeah, yeah. So
That's amazing.
yeah, I was excited about that. To be honest, like my base salary and then the OTE, combined, I was like, this is double what I've ever made. And I've
Yeah.
done 6 years in HR, and I probably wouldn't have touched this until I was probably like late 40s, maybe
Yeah.
late 40s, maybe. So that's the thing I like about it, is that the commission is uncapped, and it makes me really feel like I am in control of my salary. So
Hmm.
and then also, because I heard you say benefits, they actually offer free health insurance. So everything is through Paymerang. They don't take anything after check for it.
Wow.
So you get free dental, regular health insurance, vision, all through Paymerang. So that was another great thing, because you don't have to pull from the money that you're making to pay for health insurance as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
And very importantly, too, because I know at the start you said you didn't feel like you had a career path working in HR. Do you feel like you're now on a career path?
Definitely. And also, just knowing, like looking at the company and seeing where I can grow, like, what I could be
Mhm.
promoted to. I'm like, I always wanted to be a part of a company where I'm like, I've been here 20, 30 years and I love it here. So,
Yeah.
so I definitely feel like I'm on a new career path, and I'm really excited about it. And that's what I would, tell people if they say like one thing, I need to know going into these interviews. You have to show that excitement. Like, you got to be excited about sales. That's that I kept hearing that like back to back. You have to be excited about sales. And so, you may not be a salesy person, but
Mhm.
you just find, you stick to your why, and then you find, the part about sales that you love the most, and you just, grow on that. So that's what I would say.
Well, yeah, I love to hear it. And what kind of advice would you give to a student who's thinking about going through course careers but isn't sure if they should do it?
I would say this. It doesn't really matter what background you come from. I would say that, if I was a teacher, if I was a mechanic and I started course careers or anything like that, I would not feel as though I was out of place. That's one thing I would say. When I started, I didn't feel like, oh, I have HR background, I'm going to fail at this. I did not feel that way. I feel like in doing course careers and learning about tech sales, it it literally can fit anyone, no matter what background you come from. So I would
Mhm.
say that course careers definitely equipped me to go into tech sales. I had no clue about it. So I would say going with an open mind and learn as much as you can. I love the fact that we have the Discord and we're able to, communicate with other like-minded individuals. It definitely keeps you motivated. And so having the community, having the knowledge, and also, like I said, not having to come from a specific background is still being a fit for you. You come in with an open mind.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Anyone from any background, whether you're 18 years old or are in your
Exactly.
60s looking to make a career transition, if you come in with the right mindset, like you were talking about, which is really being excited to do the role of an
Yeah.
SDR, and then you get equipped with all the knowledge and skills in course careers that you need to be successful, there's no reason you won't get hired and ultimately crush it in your position. Which brings me to my last question
Yeah.
is, do you feel like you're equipped to do the job as an SDR?
I definitely do. To be honest, this last week, preparing for my start date on Monday, I
Yeah.
was like, you know what? I was getting like a little nervous. I was like, you know what? But then I thought about it. I was like, you know what? Everything that you learned, it got you the job. So I know that everything that you learned is going to be able to be applied, and you're going to crush it. I started to look up like different videos just to like brush up on my knowledge. But honestly, everything that I learned course careers, it was equivalent to that. So I'm like, I already know this information, of course. So I'm very excited to start Monday. And I'm really glad that I took a chance and got a certificate through course careers, to be honest.
Yeah.
I tell people are like inboxing me every day almost, and they're like, I see that you did course careers, I'm scared. And after talking to me, they're like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. They're like, you know what, November, I'm gonna do it. Or, they're setting these dates, and I'm like, hey, do it. I'm even giving, my referral code. I'm like, if
Yeah.
this is gonna push you, here's $50 off. Get into it. So I did have one person already, and I have three in waiting. They're gonna be signing up. So I'm excited for them, and I'm just like a walking testimony, to motivate them to get started.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, they'll always be on the fence and not, I mean, kind of feel like an imposter, right? Where you feel like
Yeah.
you don't deserve a tech sales job or that you can't do it. But it's like if everyone else can do it, then you probably can
Right,
too.
right. Honestly,
So,
you just gotta bet on yourself. And I felt like that was the best bet I could have done. So
yeah. Well, thanks again for sharing your story. And I'm sure a
thank
ton of
you.
students are going to find it really helpful. And whenever people reach out to you on LinkedIn, you can now direct them to this video. Uh,
Yeah.
and do you mind if students who watch this video reach out and connect with you on LinkedIn?
I don't mind at all. Honestly, that's probably the best part about it. People reaching out and saying, "Hey, like, tell me more about this," and then them getting excited about it and them being sold. And I'm like, "Look, this is the real deal, to be honest." And when you look at the other options that you have, it's not to say that other companies are, better or worse, but I did CourseCareer, so now I know this works. Here I am 8 weeks in and start my
Yeah.
SDR position.
Well, thanks again, Naja. Have a nice one.
Thank
Bye.
you, you too. Bye.